What are parents responsible for? To faithfully teach and model for their children virtue, to cherish their children, to love them unconditionally, to cherish and accept your children unconditionally. Now that means to cherish them, to honor them, to treasure them. And I got down on my knees in this horrible experience I had with Danny. When I get in a real tight spot like that, I, like you, maybe have a tendency to pray. And I got down on my knees and I was trying to make a deal with God. Send a pretty girl. You know, you can do anything. Do something to save this boy. And I was on my knees. Give me more power. Give me more power. Give me more power. And finally, after months, the answer came, no, I will not give you more power. I don't work that way. Danny knows what's right and wrong. And Danny's going to learn by his own experience. And you are not being a good father. What? Not being a good father? I go to all the visitation days. I put all this money out. I got him in a program. What do you mean not a good... Danny needs a father who loves him unconditionally. Danny needs a father who will accept him where he is right now with all his problems. Danny needs a father now more than maybe he'll need a father for the rest of his life. Danny needs a father who loves him unconditionally, not just if he's good, not just if he doesn't embarrass him. Danny needs a father whose love is unconditional, whose love transcends his stupidity. The love transcends courts and hospitals and totaled cars and district attorneys and psychiatrists and probation officers. That love must transcend everything. And Danny must be accepted and loved not because of what he does, but because of who he is. Now Danny has turned around. Danny's taken responsibility for his life. And he's been hired by a very prestigious firm. There were about 300 applicants for the job and 2 openings, and Danny got one. Danny's turned his life around, but it wasn't until I gave him his life and put the responsibility on his shoulders. That was the great change in our relationship. When I backed off and realized that it was wrong to control. So you're to cherish and accept your children unconditionally. You are to create a secure environment that's full and rich in developmental opportunity. Lots of opportunity to work. Your responsibility is not to control and manage the lives of your children when these children have been taught and know what is right from wrong. And they therefore are accountable for their own lives' choices. Is this true? And now we need to lay this on them. All right? The parable of the seeds. This is not in the Bible. I wrote this parable, okay? A sorrowful man came to the prophet and said, I am the father of a wayward son, who has broken his faithful mother's heart, that her tears dry not up, and she cannot be comforted. What wisdom can we know to endure our grief? The prophet perceived the man was good, and said, Hear the parable of the seeds. The Lord gave unto his servants seed to plant in his fields. Each received according to the will and wisdom of the Lord. What manner of seeds are these? Asked the servants. That is not for you to know at this time. But I know what kinds of seeds they are. Plant them, water them, fertilize them, weed them, and protect them from predators. And you will discover for yourselves what kinds of seeds these are. The faithful servants went forth and planted the seeds and began to tend the fields according to their desires and skills. They labored diligently and brought forth beautiful vegetables and flowers. But to their great disappointment, there were certain weeds and thorny plants that sprang up and tormented their hearts. These servants cried unto the Lord, However faithfully we labor, we cannot get the thorny plants to produce good fruit. Why have you given us noxious weeds and thorny bushes amongst our fruitful plants to take away our joy? And the Lord answered, This is wisdom in me. Tend to them and labor with them, for it is not the same season for all seed. And in their maturity some thorny bushes produce a blossom of the most desirable fragrance and delicious fruit, notwithstanding the bitter season. Call no seed evil, for I, the Lord of the fields, have judged all my seed worthy of life. Do not be downcast, for power is not given you to change the nature of any seed. You did not create the seed. You are only able to help the seed become what it is. The unfaithful servants planted their seeds. They did not water well, but the Lord rained upon the land, and the seed sprouted and survived. The unfaithful servants did not fertilize, but the Lord provided sufficient nourishment from the earth. Nor did the unfaithful servants weed their fields, so that weeds grew up in great abundance and tried to choke out the good seeds. The good seeds were much afflicted because of the neglect of the unfaithful servants, but they struggled and survived. And even in the fields of the unfaithful servants, nature prevailed. Vegetable seed became vegetable. The fruit seed sprouted and bore fruit, each after its kind. And the seed of the thorny bushes and noxious weeds sprouted, each after its kind. And some of the thorny bushes in time bore delicious fruit, even as the Lord had said. Then in the harvest, the faithful servants were blessed and honored, and had great joy. But the unfaithful servants received no more seed forever. Let me tell you about this farmer. He was a great farmer, known throughout all the land. He had rose bushes, the most beautiful in all the land. And he found a seed. And being a good man, he wanted to give this seed every opportunity. So he took this unknown seed and he planted it in the most fertile and precious part of his garden. And he poured on it rose water. And he gave it rose food. And all the little seed saw was rose bushes and smelled rose perfume. And he put it into the ground, and he dug around it and weeded and protected it. And after a time, the seed germinated and sprouted and shot forth a teeny little sprout. And he looked at it and he was overjoyed, and he gave it more rose water, more rose food, and sang it rose lullabies. And the little thing looked up, this little sprout looked up, and all it saw was beautiful rose bushes all around. The whole environment was full of roses. But then the farmer became alarmed because it looked funny, and he became embarrassed. And this thing was starting to turn into a carrot. And a carrot started to emerge. And he was embarrassed, and he kind of didn't want the neighbors to see. And he was kind of ashamed to go into town until he went to a parenting class. And he learned that carrot seeds are going to become carrots. And wherever you plant a carrot seed in this world, no matter who the farmer is, it's going to be a what? That's right. And wherever you plant roses, they're going to be roses. People become who they are. This big fight in society about whether it's nurture or nature, I think, is a false battle. Nature, the genetic inheritance that we have. Nurture, our environment, our parenting. All necessary, all important, all very influential, but not deterministic. At least 51% why we become who we are in life is because of our individual choice.